Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics. Today we have a 2001 Toyota Highlander with a 2.4 liter. The complaint on this vehicle is the battery light remains on the dash while the engine is running. Now, the owner of this vehicle is one of my customers, and we are here to bail her out in the parking lot. She told me that when she was driving, the battery light remained on the dash, and she parked it here. After that, the vehicle would not start. So it sounds like we have a problem in the charging system. So I'm going to try to start the engine so we can confirm the complaint. So right now the battery is completely dead. So what are we going to do since the battery is dead? She told me that the battery light came on and she took it to her local parts store. They replaced the battery. She told me the battery is new, but when she was driving home, the battery light remained on the dash. Okay, she parked it here. Now it's a no crank, no start, and none of the lights are coming on the dash. So this over here is a typical symptom of a charging system that's not working. Okay, we could have a defective alternator or a problem in the wiring between the battery and the alternator. So let's open up the hood and jump start the vehicle. After we get the engine running, we're gonna do some tests to figure out where our problem is. So now let's jump start it. Let's open up the hood. Here is our battery. As you can see, the battery looks new. So here's the alternator. Everything is connected. Okay, so now let's jump start this. We're jump starting the battery with this vehicle over here. Okay, so now let's go in the vehicle and see if the engine is gonna start. Okay, we now have a light on the dash. Let's lower the windows. Okay, so now we can start the engine. Man, this engine is knocking. So check engine light is on. Engine is running. Let's go under the hood. There is a weird noise coming from this area. So I'm gonna grab a multimeter so we can take a voltage measurement at this B positive terminal of the alternator. I have my multimeter set up to the voltage scale. Now I'm gonna connect to the battery. Let's take a voltage measurement at the battery first. So we're reading 13.70 volts. Now, this is because we still have power coming from this vehicle, okay? The voltage is most likely coming from that car. Now I'm going to disconnect our jumper cables. Now, as I disconnect the jumper cables, our voltage goes down to 12.38. Okay, so this over here tells me that the alternator is now charging because the car has been running for over 15 minutes now. Okay, and this battery has been replaced. So let's do a quick voltage drop test while the engine is still running. So now I'm gonna move my positive lead to the alternator case. So I'm just gonna connect it right here. So we are connected to the alternator case. Our reading is 0.00. So that means we don't have a voltage drop on the negative side of the alternator. So that's good. So now we're going to connect to our B positive terminal of the alternator. We should be reading system voltage now on the multimeter. We are reading 12.03. I'm gonna move my black lead to battery positive. Okay, we have 0.00. Okay, we have the minus sign because our test leads are flipped. Now I'm gonna go in the car and turn on the lights. Okay, so with the lights turned on, we have 0.05. Okay, we can do the same test on the negative side because when we tested the negative side, we were not loading the charging circuit. So same thing. Okay, so we don't have a voltage drop problem. So now we need to check our control wires at the alternator. We have 3 wires over here that we have to back probe, and these wires should have system voltage on all of them. Okay, these wires are coming from a fuse, a couple fuses in the fuse box. So I'm going to back probe all these wires. We're gonna watch the voltage on these 3 wires on the lab scope. If we have system voltage on all these 3 wires, that will tell me that the alternator wires are good, and at that point we're gonna go ahead and replace the alternator. Okay, and I believe we have an alternator problem in this vehicle. I'm gonna get these wires back probed, and then I'll bring you guys back up. So we need to back probe these 3 wires over here. Hold on. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, I have a favor to ask you. I want you to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Smash the like button. I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now let's continue with the video. I got our 3 wires at the alternator back probed. Okay, all these 3 wires are back probed right now, as you can see. I'm sorry if I'm being really fast. I gotta do this really quickly so I can move on. I don't like working in a parking lot, so I'm just here to bail out this customer. Hopefully we can fix this really fast. So we're back probing all those wires. I have my lab scope set up. Okay, I got 3 channels turned on. I'm sorry for the glare. We have system voltage on the blue trace. We have 0.04 volt on the green trace and 0.02 volt on the yellow trace. Now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine. I'm still jump starting this battery because the engine just died when I was setting up the lab scope. Okay, so we're still getting some juice on the battery. I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine, and then we're gonna disconnect our jumper cables from the battery. So this is starting to look like we have an alternator issue. So as you can hear, the engine is running. And I don't know if you can hear this noise. This noise is coming from the alternator. There's like a little zooming noise coming from this area. Now let's look at our lab scope screen. As you can see, I'm sorry for the glare, hopefully you can see this. We have system voltage on all the wires at the alternator, and we have some type of ripple going on over here. Now, seeing system voltage on all these 3 wires tells me that the wires that supply power to the alternator are all good. I did look up the charging circuit on this vehicle. These wires don't come from the computer. They come from fuses in the fuse box. All these 3 wires. Since we have system voltage there, it tells me that the fuses that send power to this alternator are all good. Okay, I'm gonna disconnect these jumper cables. Our voltage is going to drop. Okay, now look at the lab scope. Now our voltage is going down. Look at this number over here. We have 11 volts on all these traces, and eventually it's going to keep going down until the engine dies. You see now the green trace is now 10 volts. The engine RPM is getting low right now. If we keep watching it, eventually it's going to die. So the alternator is not charging the battery. This alternator is bad. It has power. There's good ground to the alternator. No voltage drops around the alternator. The alternator is bad. If we keep watching, if we let it idle for a little longer, it's gonna die. The engine is gonna shut down. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get a new alternator. Once I get a new alternator, we're gonna install it, and after that, this is gonna be fixed. Yeah, so look at this. See this right here? As you can see, our voltage is going down. Our voltage is decreasing. Let's look at the dash and see if the battery light is now on. I mean, no battery lights on. Check engine light is on. We can scan it to see what kind of trouble codes we have, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna have low voltage trouble codes. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect our lab scope test leads from the alternator. We're done with our testing. This alternator has to be replaced. Eventually this thing is gonna die. I don't have to scan it. These 3 wires over here are supposed to get power from 3 fuses. Since we have power on all these wires, we know our alternator wiring is good. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine so that we can replace this alternator. Actually, before I turn off the engine, I'm gonna scan it, okay? I'm just gonna scan it. Just for some gigs and giggles. Let's scan it and see what kind of trouble codes we have. I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna turn the key on. I'm gonna get the scan tool connected to the vehicle, and then I'll bring you guys back up. So I got the scan tool connected to the vehicle, and here are the trouble codes that we have in the engine computer. I'm sorry for the glare. Right there. P0420 and P0430. So catalytic converter codes. Okay, no system voltage or alternator codes. So no charging system trouble codes. Okay, so we're definitely not here for catalytic converter codes. We are here for the battery that's dying. Okay, so we did our test. We're good to go. I'm going to turn the key off. We're gonna get the alternator replaced. I'm gonna get an alternator, and then I'll bring you guys back up. We have replaced the alternator. As you can see, our brand new alternator is installed. The engine is idling. We now have good system voltage at the battery. Okay, right now with the engine running, we have 13.54 volts at the battery. I'm gonna go in the vehicle and turn on the headlights. Let's load the charging system and see what voltage we're gonna have at the battery. So right now with the headlights on, we're reading 13.5, okay? 13.50 volts at the battery. So this is fixed, guys. The problem on this vehicle was a bad alternator. Okay? So we're good to go. We have good system voltage at the battery. This is fixed. So now let's wrap up this video. So we're good to go. The check engine light is now off because we disconnected the battery. I'm gonna let the customer know about the catalytic converter codes that we just saw. But right now, what we were hired for is fixed. The charging system is not working. We're good to go. Now I'm gonna turn off the engine. All right, guys, so I'm gonna leave this right over here. This is how you test a charging system on a 2001 Toyota Highlander. I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.